Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are listening to this webinar. I'm Al Thornton, Global Market Manager for the DuPont Fire Extinguishing business, and with me is Joyce Wallace, standing in for Dr. Mark Robin. Joyce is the North American Market Manager for Fluorochemicals. Joyce's marketing role has recently been expanded to include our specialties businesses, focusing primarily on DuPont's fire extinguishing business. Joyce and I will be providing an update on the market, operations, regulations, technology, and then we're going to open it up for Q&As. During our spring webinar, I concluded with some hope and optimism that following the challenges of 2011, 2012 would see a return to some sense of normal, or whatever passes for normal in today's business climate. I'm glad to accept the undeserved credit for a more normal 2012. This summer, we lifted the allocation program for FM200, and our fire extinguishing volumes are up 33% for the second half of this year. Project activity is improving globally, and clean agent pricing has stabilized. The DuPont commitment to our customers and the entire fire contracting community is to be a consistent and stable supplier of high quality, safe and effective clean agents, and we continue to work toward earning your trust and support every day. As far as our operations, I'm pleased to share with you that DuPont made several changes to avoid future supply issues. These changes include increased inventory levels, plant operating discipline to improve output, and expanded raw material contracts. After 2011, we knew we needed to make some changes and had complete business support to do so. Even though order patterns vary significantly, we know it's important to have product available for key projects when you need it. Inventory is always a delicate balancing act, as too much inventory results in higher material costs. And last I checked, nobody was asking for higher costs. As you can see, the monthly pattern for product shipments is not very smooth and follows a very ragged sawtooth pattern. We're all challenged with having enough inventory, but not too much. Excess inventory translates into excess costs. We've initiated a program that moves our holding inventory levels up to cover the most likely peaks, and we continue to fine-tune this to account for some of the quarterly cycles that the fire contracting business experiences. We know it's important to manage our costs while meeting the growing demand for FM200, and we're committed to doing just that. This is a continuous improvement project, and we will continue to anticipate, monitor, and then adjust to accommodate changes in the marketplace. Another operational highlight is the TAR at our El Dorado plant, executed in September of 2012. TAR is a DuPont acronym for turnaround and is a scheduled, extended maintenance program we implement across all our plant sites. Our production facilities are not unlike high-performance race cars. We run them very hard and bring them in for regular pit stops as needed. But in order for them to continue to perform at such a high level year after year, we regularly schedule a complete and thorough workover, pull reactors and equipment apart to check their inner workings, and make significant upgrades and process improvements before sending them back out on the track. Our El Dorado FM200 plant went through such a TAR quite successfully in September, and we implemented several production upgrades that will help us meet the continuing worldwide demand for FM200. This ties in with my previous comments on increasing inventory levels as well, since while the plant was down for the extended TAR, we were shipping orders out of our inventory stocks. Building inventory prior to the TAR is an important part of the planning process and part of the constant juggling act that Carlos Saldana and our operations and supply team handles as if it were just routine. For those who've never visited our El Dorado plant site, here is the FM200 production units that we make for FM200 around the world. This fire suppression business continues to constantly fascinate me year after year with where and how fire protection connects people and places around the world. Now, my son is currently learning about ancient civilizations and started talking about a recent architectural find in Turkey. The world's largest sunken ship museum will soon be established in Istanbul thanks to finds from the port of Theodosius dating back to the 4th century, a discovery in Yenikapı made during excavations for the Marmaray Tunnel project. So what's the fire connection? Well, while I hope we can see some clean agent suppression installed to protect all those ancient wooden ships, my interest picked up when I heard the word Marmaray. You see, we've been working a large FM200 project connected with the Marmaray Tunnel, which has been expected to ship any day now for a very, very long time. The tunnel is a huge undersea project linking Asia and Europe. Think a channel under the Bosphorus. But the tunnel project has had delay upon delay, largely due to the archaeological discoveries that come when you try and dig a very large hole under one of the oldest and greatest cities in the world. Well, maybe our ship has come in, or out as the case may be, and we will soon ship our gas. Then we can go talk to the museum curators about all those 4th century wooden ships. I'd like to hand it over to Joyce Wallace now and talk a little bit about the European regulations.
Thank you, Al. While we're in Europe, let's travel from the ancient to the most contemporary and talk a bit about the latest F-gas regulations pending with the European Commission. Very important to note that the European Commission's proposal on F-gases, issued on November 7, 2012, does not impact the future of FM200. The proposal for Europe on F-gas regulations is a gradual phase down in the amount of bulk HFCs in tons of CO2 equivalent that can be produced or imported in the European Union, beginning with a freeze in 2015 and reaching a 79% reduction in 2030. The focus of the regulation is primarily on refrigerants, since they have greater emissions and larger impact on climate. DuPont is supporting this regulation as a means to reduce contributions to climate change while providing certainty to the marketplace and allowing stakeholders and users to select the most cost-effective options and alternatives to meet their needs. It's certainly not a perfect regulation, and there are several problematic areas within this extensive document for industry in general, as well as those of us trying to provide safe, effective fire protection for critical facilities. The current proposal primarily targets the servicing and maintenance of refrigeration equipment, and for fire protection, FM200, FE36, and FE25 will not be impacted by the regulation and will continue to be available in Europe to meet the critical fire protection needs of the market. I'll get into a few of the specifics, but the key point is that FM200 is not being banned in Europe. The draft regulation has identified a few targeted products, which it will include as an Annex 4 substance. This currently includes HFC 23 with a GWP of 14,800. Annex 4 substances are excluded from the market, and HFC 23 exclusion begins as of January 2015. We feel these application limits are counter to the general policy of allowing market forces and acceptable alternative technologies to determine the best use of these products. HFCs in fire remain a very small percentage of the greenhouse gas emissions in Europe, as reflected in the position the European Commission has taken in the proposed regulation. It's important to note here that the use of HFCs in fire protection have essentially no impact on global warming or climate change. While firefighting HFCs can have high GWP values, climate impact requires a significant level of emissions in conjunction with a GWP value. While the GWP of fire extinguishants can be high, combined with very low emissions results in low climate impact. The collected data and science continue to prove emissions from fire protection systems are extremely small and not increasing, even with an increasing installed base. DuPont will keep you informed as the F-gas regulation works its way through the European regulatory process over the coming months. Stay tuned for further updates through our website, videos, and email blasts. Now I'm going to hand it back to Al.
Thank you, Joyce. Getting back to fire protection, fortunately, fires do not happen often, but they do occur, and being prepared to protect, safeguard, and minimize damage is critical. Factory mutual data shows an average of 40 losses per year in data processing centers. While many events go unreported, some, like Fisher Plaza in 2009 or Parks Hall at Western Washington University, make headlines. Fires do occur, and nobody wants to be in the newspapers having a fire destroyed a key facility or data center. And then there's this summer's fire at Shaw Communications in Calgary. According to reports published in Data Center Knowledge, the explosion and fire last July knocked out both the primary and backup systems that supported key public services for local government and medical institutions. The outage took out the city's 311 emergency services, or 911 for those of you on this side of the border, and Alberta's property and vehicle information databases, which were maintained in an IBM data center at the Shaw Building. The outage also knocked out a medical computer network for Alberta Health Services and forced the postponement of hundreds of surgical procedures. The problems began when a transformer exploded at Shaw's downtown Calgary facility. The fire set off the building's sprinkler system, which also took out the backup system. This is a classic example of why the fire suppression industry recommends waterless, clean agent fire protection in data centers. Unfortunately, Shaw was unprotected for both their primary and backup systems. They did not have a properly engineered waterless clean agent fire suppression. Systems like FM200 and FE25, the clean agents predominantly used for data center fire protection, are specifically designed to suppress this type of fire without taking out electrical systems. But many users do understand the value of clean agents. In June, Stuart Harrison of Automatic Protection Limited had a customer in the Scotland borders experience firsthand the impact of good fire protection. Capacitors in the UPS unit within the company's main communications center exploded, causing extreme heat, enough to melt the metal racking holding the capacitors. The FM200 system discharged, extinguishing the fire and alerting the fire brigade before any additional damage to the center occurred. The facility manager of the communications center said, "Who knows what the damage would have been had we not had the FM200 system installed to kill the fire before it got started. This really demonstrates the value of the system." Stuart's clients and many others around the world demonstrate the continued need for safe, clean, and effective firefighting agents. Dr. Robin and our technology team continue to create and test molecules, searching for additional products to add to the diverse DuPont portfolio of clean agents. We continue to look for products that can meet the specific application needs of critical users within the military, aircraft, and other clients with unique commercial challenges. Several projects are underway with key users to investigate potential developmental molecules and new application technologies for our existing portfolio of products. And I had hoped to have Dr. Robin here to talk about the latest developments with our new molecules program, as we had some great news recently on one of our new molecule development activities. While it is still early in the developmental process, we successfully completed cardiac sensitization testing on a new molecule in excess of the likely Class C design concentration. Now, this is a key milestone for the progress of any new candidate to join the rest of the DuPont portfolio of clean agent products. We still have a lot of work left to do, including making some more of this particular material for more extensive testing. But I hope we will soon be able to bring you more good news and updates on this candidate as well as some others we're investigating. On behalf of the whole DuPont fire extinguishing team, thank you for joining us and taking time to view our presentation. My name is Al Thornton, and you can reach me at the contact details listed if you have any additional questions or comments.